Hey, Snackers, I'm Matt DiNapoli. I'm a manager of developer advocacy with Cisco Developer Relations.
Hello, Snackers. My name is Kareem Iskander. I'm a lead technical advocate with Cisco Learning and Certifications.
And welcome to episode 101 of Snack Minute.
Snack Minute is your weekly 10-minute bite of learning covering tech, coding, and some cool stuff that we do here.
And the cool thing we're going to be talking about today is Microsoft Azure with Mandy Whaley, who you guys might have remembered was on one of our probably third or fourth episode way back when she worked for Cisco.
Helping developers use our APIs. I get to work with amazing people like Matt and Kareem. And we also do a lot of work on the paths that you can take to build the skills, to learn about Cisco technology, to learn about software skills, to learn about automation.
And she's our boss.
And now she is with Microsoft, but I'll let her talk about herself a little bit. So Mandy, would you mind introducing yourself to our new viewers and what you do now?
For sure. I'm super excited to be back on Snack Minute. It's great to be back with Matt and Kareem.
Good to have you.
So I work with Azure Developer Tools, and it's really fun. We get to work with a team who's all about making it great for developers to build applications on Azure. So we do a lot of different things. We work on Azure SDK libraries. We build Azure Developer Tools and VS Code. We help build testing tools so that people can test their applications, and really just working across that whole spectrum and saying, what do developers need and how can we help them have the best experience building on Azure?
That's awesome.
Can you tell us a little bit about the projects that you work on for?
Yeah, so one of the things that I really like is that in our Azure SDKs, we support so many different languages. So we have libraries specifically built for Python, JavaScript, .NET, Go, Java, and we're constantly, working with the community on what are the languages that people want to be building in for Azure. And then what's great is we spend a lot of time building those SDKs in a way that's idiomatic for each language. So if you're a Python developer, the Python library is going to look and feel like a Python library. If you're a JavaScript developer, that library is going to work the way that you expect it to. And then we do a lot of cool things to make it easier to interact with our APIs. You guys know that I love APIs.
Yes. Very passionate about it.
And so we do a lot of cool things to help it make it easy to interact with the APIs through the libraries by doing things to make it easy to authenticate, which is always a developer challenge. Dealing with things like pagination, so bringing back and helping you kind of page through the results. And making it easy to do retries and things like that. So I just love that because I get to be really close to the code. It's a way where we get to interact with developers who are building applications really directly.
That's really exciting. I love that you talked about the implementations of the pagination and the implementations of the authentication, because we've talked about this before with Snackers. Some of those things, those management activities are hard to do when working with APIs. And so it's nice to hear that Microsoft and Azure specifically is really taking that under advisement with the developers, because sometimes they just want to get to building and they want to get over that first hump of those kinds of things. So that's really nice to learn about. Are there some tools out there on top of the SDKs that maybe would make developers' lives even easier beyond that?
Yeah, we do have some new ones that I'm really excited about. So we have a tool that's called the Azure Developer CLI. It's currently in preview, and this is about helping you get up your whole application up and running on Azure basically in one step. So you could say, I'm looking for a Python application with a database and monitoring, and I want the right logging and things. And we have pre-built templates that have these kinds of applications built for you, an example application that's easy to understand and build on top of. And then it also has all of the infrastructure as code files. So it has the Terraform files, or Bicep, which is the infrastructure as code language for Azure specifically, but we support both Terraform or Bicep, whatever you like. And so that all comes together in one repo. And using the Azure Developer CLI, you can basically AZD up that template, and it will provision all the resources for you, deploy the code, bring back the URL that says, click here to see your application running in Azure. And so this is one where, it's a lot of fun because it helps people get going quickly. And then really there's things to help you with sort of the next steps of your application where you're wanting to look at monitoring. There's an AZD monitor command that gets you right to a monitoring dashboard. And there's also a pipeline config, which helps you set up like GitHub Actions pipeline.
Oh, nice.
So then, yeah, then you can just be right in your flow of, working in VS Code or Visual Studio and just, commit, push, and then the GitHub Actions deploying for you.
Well, and it's nice, probably the fact that you guys are part of Microsoft and having all of that built into VS Code probably makes it really super easy for developers to not have to jump to different places and kind of really exist within the IDE.
We definitely want to meet developers where they like to work and fit into whatever their workflow is, whether it's more, mouse driven, or if you like working from the terminal. Like AZD is a great tool because you can use it in VS Code, or you can just use it from any terminal that you want. So we're all about kind of meeting people there.
And all of this is free and open source for developers to just go check out.
AZD is open source. The templates are open source. There's community contributions to the templates, which is really fun to see. And it's a new tool. It's just getting going. So we'd love to have some snackers check it out.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna check it out.
I got excited when you said infrastructure as code.
I got excited with the whole building out of the whole CI/CD pipeline for you.
Yeah, that's
Don't worry
nice.
about that. Yeah.
Those are. Yeah, it helps a lot to know that you can get from that getting started to having that pipeline set up really easily.
Right, and I think you mentioned, we were talking previously about something around load testing, and you're working on something.
Yeah, so we have 2 testing things that I'm really excited about, because I think, as our applications have gotten more complicated, more distributed, testing is really important for developers, and we want to make it easier for developers to bring testing into their workflows, their CI/CD pipelines, all those things. So we have 2 projects that we're working on. Azure Load Testing is a load testing service, uses JMeter, but it's all just set it up. You can just do something as simple as point it to a URL and then start running performance and load test against it. And it has pre-built GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps pipelines that you can build it into your CI/CD pipeline. So you could actually be doing load testing, not, seasonally or every so often like people have done historically, but you can be doing it on every time you build and seeing if there's a hit to your performance. And then the Playwright is a web UI kind of end-to-end testing framework that's open source. And this is really great because you can build an application and you can write tests in your favorite language, JavaScript, Python, C#, or you can just go in and record them. It has like a code gen recording. And then it has this really nice flow. It's really fast. It's meant to be used in your developer tools like VS Code and right from the terminal if you want to. So it's another one of those tools that kind of brings something into the developer workflow. And it's great. It's open source, and you should go check it out.
It's awesome.
It's at Playwright.dev.
Playwright.dev.
Yeah.
So as far as kind of the integration, we got to talk about it, is Cisco. Are there some things that your team's working on or that you're working on together with Cisco to kind of integrate with things like AKS or?
Yeah, so I think there's, I know you guys were saying you had some learning materials around AKS and things like that. So yes, like for the Azure Developer CLI, we have templates that help you get an AKS cluster up and running, in a couple steps. And then we do a lot of work with, like I said, with helping build all of our tools into Azure DevOps pipelines. So I think there's a lot of great things to check out there.
And I think one of the reasons that we also, we talked about this in our episode 100 is to be able to bring folks from adjacent technologies into Snack Minute. But not only this, this is something that, we've talked to you about for a while now, is within Cisco U, we're focused on not just Cisco, but we're also focused on adjacent technologies, things that Mandy is working on. So if you're looking to learn around, similar technologies, we have a learning path that you can get on use.cisco.com today to check out AKS, as well as some of the Azure DevOps learning path that we have for you. And this is kind of what you were touching on there, Mandy.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we are running out of time, but since this is your second time on Snack Minute, we're not going to ask you the superpower question, but we are in Austin.
Yes.
And you are an Austinite. Is that what they call you guys?
Yes.
Okay, so being an Austinite, Kareem and I love to eat.
I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Where would, let's say, the best barbecue place to go? Where should we go tonight?
That is like a really tough question because there's so much good barbecue in Austin. I mean, really, I would say one thing you could do is just explore. Just pick somewhere, rate reviews, and have there, because you're likely to get something that is outstanding. Terry Black's is an awesome option for people to head to.
Terry Blacks.
And then I feel like during the pandemic and slightly post-pandemic, we kind of had this explosion of new restaurants in Austin that showed up. And so there's a ton of fun stuff to check out. Not a barbecue, but one thing that I checked out recently that I really liked was there's a really fun tiki bar concept called Tiki Bar Tatsuya. Yeah, you gotta make a reservation. It's a little bit hard to get into, but it's super fun. I would definitely recommend it.
Taking notes.
All right, well, thank you, Mandy, for joining us. Thank you for talking about Azure Dev Tools. Thank you for talking about Austin restaurants. And Snackers, thanks for joining us for another episode of Snack Minute. Catch us next week.
Thank you.